But let's get into it. Let's talk about. Well, I spoke about this morning, didn't we? We were talking about the Harry Maguire story and the Jadon Sancho story, and it came out from Talk Sport and Alan Brazil that they had a really good source that had been told that the players weren't having Ten Hag. You know, they were frustrated with the way he treated Jadon Sancho and the way he treated Cristiano Ronaldo, and they just weren't having it. Well, that was this morning. United haven't officially put a line out because I don't think they actually want to acknowledge it officially. But from good sources within the club, this is a frustration. It's not unexpected, but it is a frustration. They beat Brentford on Saturday. The way the players reacted to scoring that winner from Scott McTominay showed the world, the fans, and everybody else just how engaged these fans are in going to the last minute and getting a result. And of course, they acknowledge as a football club that they're nowhere near where they need to be. But to have these stories coming out that the players don't fancy Ten Hag and they don't want to work for Ten Hag, they find really frustrating because we're not coming off a loss. We're coming off a win. And we're coming off a time where Ten Hag is absolutely adamant that that win, even though it wasn't in the design he wanted it, it was a blood, guts and thunder win. And the positive that Ten Hag took from that was that it was a message to the fans that the players are with him and are with the club. So it's very frustrating when only a few days later in an international break where they don't have any games to bounce back, there are stories coming out that there are players that don't fancy Ten Hag as a manager. They don't want him to do well. It's a frustration, and it's a frustration for Erik Ten Hag. And whilst it's not one that the club are going to acknowledge publicly, it is one that just undermines what they're trying to do at a time of vulnerability. Andy Weatherall, thank you for gifting a membership there. And Mark, do you think you could read out the starting lineup in the previews instead of just putting it on the screen because most of the team I just listened, says J. Dot. Well, I can do, but we're not doing a preview for 2 weeks, you prat. But I can do it, yeah. I thought I always did that anyway. But anyway, look, let's get into the real world. Let's talk now. Look, I think that what I would say is that we had Rob Dawson on this afternoon. Beth interviewed him. He hadn't really heard anything about leaks. We had, we've done our own little bit of digging. They've not really heard anything. So the bottom line is, for that story this morning, as it stands now, has not been substantiated or followed up by anybody with any concrete proof. So what is it? What is it? Is it really worth taking any time on? All I would say is, I just think it's another tactic to try and destabilise a manager who's under pressure. And as I've said for many weeks, there is, I don't know whether this is a record, but there is no manager in the Premier League that has been sacked. J. Dot, don't worry for asking. It's absolutely fine. If you get called a prat, it's a term of affection. Don't worry about it. Can we all give J. Dot some love? He's got a sad face in the chat now. I don't want him to feel sad. I'm just having a bit of banter. I can read the preview out, but we're not doing one for 2 weeks. But going back to what I was saying about Ten Hag, no manager has been sacked in the Premier League yet. And I don't think that's usual to get to the second international break and not have a sacking. And we won't have a sacking in this international break. So there hasn't been a sacking. And you know what? That's a little bit like vultures not getting a carcass to eat on. And that's a little bit what the media are like. They need and are used to having a bit of a manager merry-go-round in the first couple of months of a season. And they haven't got one. And they're hungry for one. So they're looking at the ones. And the plumpiest, juiciest meat is the biggest manager. The bigger club. And they're looking at the big clubs and they're going, well, look, Pep's never going anywhere. De Zerbi's not going to go anywhere. Arteta's not going anywhere. Klopp's not going anywhere. Eddie Howe's not going anywhere. Emery's not going anywhere. Ange has only just got there. Poch has only just got there. Oh, Ten Hag, not had a good start to the season. I'd like to sack managers. And he is just prime meat at the moment. And I think that there are obviously going to be active stories to try and derail him, but the question always has to be, who are the players that don't want to work for Ten Hag? Who are the players that are not happy with Ten Hag? Because I can go through that team and I'll do it for you now. It's international break. Onana, definitely not. Wan-Bissaka, definitely not. Dalot, definitely not. Maguire, I don't think it's Maguire. Lindelof, I don't think it's Maguire. Varane, I don't think it's Varane. Martinez, definitely not. Luke Shaw, I don't think it's Luke Shaw. Malacia, definitely not. I'm saying definitely not to the players that have either massively been given a chance by Ten Hag or have been bought by Ten Hag. Casemiro, definitely not. just don't think it's in his nature to do it either. McTominay, I don't actually think McTominay would either. And he might have reason to, but I don't think he would. Donny van der Beek, again, he might have reason to, but I don't think he's the sort of person to do it. Bruno Fernandes, definitely not. Eriksen, definitely not. Mason Mount, he's only just bought him, definitely not. Amrabat, definitely not. Rashford, I mean, people would like it to be Rashford, but I'd say, why would he do it? He's just had a massive contract and his career has been redeemed by Erik ten Hag. So why would he not be indebted to him? Garnacho, definitely not. Martial, don't think he would. Really don't think he would. He's had better opportunities with Solskjaer and Mourinho and not done it. So why would he do it? I don't think it's in his nature. Højlund, definitely not. So Anthony, definitely not. So I don't know who these players are that would be turning on Erik ten Hag. And even if they were, they're clearly not first team players. So I don't see it. And I think sometimes you've got to work your way through. If you'd asked me a few weeks ago, I think some of the people that maybe were looking to be sold, you could have said them. But you look at their professionalism on Saturday, I'm not going to say anything about that. So, yeah, I think I just don't see it. I just don't see it at all. Andy Weatherall, thank you very much. And Zachary, welcome to the Members Club. I appreciate that. Now, let me just say on the Ten Hag thing then, look, unless we get anything further, I would file it under bullshit because we're all clever enough to deduce whether there'd be 4 or 5 players turning against Ten Hag in the first team, and I can't think of one. So I think you just have to say, well, you know what? We're past all that as a fan base. We can't just take a story now and go, that's true. I think we need to be cleverer than that. Now, I go back to Ralph Rangnick in that January, and there was loads of leaks, and there was loads of outlets talking about it, and I think it was very easy to say that, you know, that there was that clique and there was that clique and they were falling out and all the leaks were coming out. But I don't see that at the moment. I really don't see that. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe it is true, but I don't think it is.